Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting for the City Commission of New Smyrna Beach for Tuesday, March 10th, 2025. Let's come to order. Please join me in silencing your cell phones. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perrine?
Here.
Commissioner Martin?
Here.
Commissioner Ashley?
Here.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Here.
Mayor Cleveland?
Here, thank you so much. And now, Police Department Chaplain Sheila Turner, not Tina Turner, Sheila Turner. Although I have seen her in the pulpit. She's awesome in the pulpit. All right, Sheila Turner will give the invocation. Please rise or remain standing for the pledge after the prayer.
Thank you, Father, for allowing us to come together one more time in this season. We thank you that you have let the cold weather pass us by, and now we're enjoying the beautiful, beautiful sun, birds, grass growing, flowers growing. Thank you, sir. Help us to clear our hearts and minds and get back to work in this beautiful city and making right decisions for our residents. We thank you, Father. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Chaplain Turner. And now Faith Fitcher, a sophomore at New Smyrna High and the Secretary of the Future Farmers of America. She's a member of the Advanced International Certificate of Education Program and the National Honor Society, a black belt in karate, and plans to attend University of Florida and study veterinary science. Will help us with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Mr. Manager, any changes to tonight's agenda, sir?
Yes, sir. I do have just a couple of changes to make. Item 4A, proclamation for Government Finance Week. I would like to pull that. We'll bring that back at the next meeting. Also, I have had a good bit of feedback about item 7B on the consent agenda concerning the hours of operation for Parks and Rec. So I think it would be good to pull that from consent and just have some discussion about it before you vote.
Very good. Okay, thank you so much. Many of you may be wondering why we're pulling the proclamation for Government Finance Professionals Week. Shaliza Bola, our Deputy Finance Director's mother, has passed, and the entire finance department is up at her funeral right now up in Daytona Beach, so we wanted them to be able to all go and support Shaliza, and so we'll defer that for another week. So please keep the Bola family in your prayers.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just one other item. Item 10A, public hearing. You'll recall this is the item concerning Beachside Baptist Church, their proposed text amendment. It had been continued to this date tonight, and you might want to go ahead and just take action on that. They've requested that it be continued again for first reading on April 14th and final reading April 28th. Just in case there's anybody here, I hate for them to have to wait to get to that item.
Perfect. Okay, we'll go to that right now. Item 10A is ordinance 6525, a second reading and public hearing of an ordinance which, if adopted, would amend section 504.02. It's a R2, single-family residential special exception use of school and or house of worship. And the applicant has asked for that to be continued. Do you have a motion for continuance?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes, the motion is
City Attorney has to
carried.
reread
City
the
Attorney,
title.
I just need to
go
do
ahead
that.
with the dates, ma'am.
And also, I haven't had a chance to touch base with him. They requested May 26th most recently. So I'm good. Ordinance number 6525, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations, amending Article 5 zoning districts, Section 50402, specific regulations by district, to revise dimensional standards for the special exception uses of schools and houses of worship in R2 single-family residential zoning districts, providing for codification, providing for public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. The public hearing on this item will be continued to May 26, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. in this room at 212 Sam's Avenue. Thank you.
And the motion that carried unanimously will authenticate that date and request. Okay, Mr. Manager, your report, sir.
Yes, sir, and Mr. Mayor, just a few things to report back on. Let me start with a couple of dates for some upcoming meetings. I did want to make everyone aware in the public of our strategic planning workshop, which is scheduled for Thursday, March 26th, beginning at 9 a.m. That'll be at the Brannan Center. And then April 7th, Tuesday, April 7th, will be the State of the City presentation that the mayor will do, and that will begin at 5:30 at the Brannan Center. And just a few follow-up items on the agenda. I know that the finance staff isn't here, but I did want to highlight on the city manager's report the kudos for the finance department and the distinguished budget presentation award that they received for the FY26 budget book. At the last meeting, Mr. Mayor, you had requested that the city attorney's legislative update be made available publicly, and the public relations staff has posted that on the website, made that available, and we'll update it as updates become available. We did follow up on a number of items that were discussed during public comments at the last meeting, including coordinating with Volusia County regarding beach access, particularly at Crawford Road, which that ramp will be for resident access only on weekends and during busy periods, holidays, spring break, and things of that nature to help with traffic. Director Salazar did follow up regarding the Mike Martin Pro-Am skateboarding event, and Chief Kirk did follow up with the citizen regarding the paraphernalia that he brought for vape shops. And we did get an update at the last meeting from Chief Kirk about spring break preparations. Deputy Chief Bill Reed is here this evening. If I can have him come up and just give you the final update before that happens later this week.
Sir, thank you, sir. Welcome,
Chief.
Deputy Chief.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity. This will be my first spring break. I couldn't be more excited to be here. I may be the only person in the police department that has experienced excitement with this, but I am. So I know Chief was up here last commission meeting. We will be kicking off on the 12th. That is Senior Skip Day. And as he said when he was up here, everybody is on break pretty much at the same time. So we're expecting quite a few visitors to our area. We anticipate zero problems, but we're ready if problems do arise. I reviewed the operational plan that the police department completed. It is very robust, very detailed, very impressed by the detail that they put into this. In the past, myself and Chief Kirk, we walked all up and down Flagler to be prepared, met with the businesses, met with FABA, just to kind of show our support and see what concerns they had leading up into spring break. this morning. Matter of fact, I walked the area also with my 2 command staff members, just putting a final eye on the downtown area, making sure everything is ready. The community can expect by tomorrow, probably mid-morning, to see our command post moved out to Flagler Beach. That'll be in place, so they might see higher than normal police foot traffic tomorrow, but that's just all in preparation for the event. So, any more than that? If you guys have any questions for me, other than the fact that I'm excited, I'll be glad to field any questions you may have.
Any questions for the Deputy Chief? Just one more time.
Yes, sir.
For clarity, you'll start the command center operations on the 12th, and
Correct.
that'll go through the 22nd.
Correct, yep.
Great.
Yep, they will run every day, and we'll have plenty of our law enforcement partners out there to make sure that the community is safe. Our primary responsibility is to make sure everybody enjoys their time here. Yes, we do take a zero-tolerance stance, but for the normal visitors that would frequent our businesses and our community, they wouldn't have to be worried about that type of stuff. But we will be sure to make sure that they have a safe and enjoyable visit to New Smyrna.
And we're open for business.
We are fully
Okay.
open for business.
Very good. Thank you.
You got it.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I have a quick question.
Yes,
Will there be anybody sort of devoted to moving traffic around?
of course, yeah, traffic is always our primary concern, to make sure not much we can do with the number of cars, but we will make sure that we have people in place to continue to flush the traffic, move it out of the intersections, and not let it bog down.
Okay. I noticed last Saturday,
Yes,
Flagler Avenue gave up and just kept the arm up because it was slowing down life so much. Will there, it was pretty funny saying, "We give up, arm up."
was it this past
Sunday,
Saturday?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
we had
yeah.
additional personnel down there for the
I
weekend
know you
also
did.
to insist.
And
yeah.
they still gave up because it was taking so long to get through the arm. And so I didn't know, the other ones I checked were using the movable arm,
Yep.
but it can take almost 5 minutes to get some people through that, which
Yeah,
is,
they-
I suspect why Flagler, whether they got permission from Jessica, I don't know. But they'd had enough, obviously, and just kept that arm up.
Yeah, we have been in contact with Jessica down there to make sure we keep that area moving so it doesn't bog down and lock down Flagler.
That would be lovely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks, Deputy Chief. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any more, Mr. Manager?
That's it. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good enough. Back to 6525. I think the address, Madam Attorney, for that is 214 Sam's. That'll be here in this room, right?
Yes.
Perfect.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so
catching
much.
that.
Yes, ma'am. Time for public participation, our favorite part. If you have a comment or would like to address the commission in a dialogue, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to do a monologue, your opportunity to come up and tell us what you think. Should we need to follow up with you, the city manager or city clerk will follow up with you directly. You'll have 3 minutes. If you'd like to come up to the podium, you'll see the green light come on for 3 minutes. When the yellow light comes on, you have 1 minute, and you need to be finished at the red light. So anyone who wishes to speak to the city on matters pertinent to the city, please come forward at this time.
Good evening. I'm Suzanne Schreiber with Dream Green Volusia. There's been a lot of discussion at the Volusia County Council meetings about Volusia Forever, specifically concerning perpetuity and why we have partners. In the year 2020, an impressive 75.6% of voters expressed strong support for the land conservation program, a percentage that exceeds the approval ratings of any current county council elected official and likely any of those in the past or the future. In 2000, the initiative received 61.6%, which was still very high. With percentages this high, a reasonable assumption would be that many of you in the chamber tonight and online listening now voted to tax yourselves in support of land conservation. The title Volusia Forever was meant for forever. It is worth noting that this is a willing seller program providing landowners with options. There is a 25-year precedent of Volusia County never selling land acquired through the program, coupled with a proven track record of establishing strong partnerships, always with the participation of county attorneys in these discussions. The benefits of land conservation are many: water quality, flooding prevention, biodiversity, recreational opportunities, cultural preservation, agricultural, and more. Volusia County has been a leader for 25 years in land conservation. The discussions could jeopardize our future partnerships and achievements. Today, we're asking for the Commission to provide a letter of unwavering support for perpetuity and partnerships, the 25-year Volusia Forever tradition. The public does know what they voted for. Please get a consensus and send your letter of support to the Volusia County Council. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Suzanne. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else for public participation?
Hello, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Teresa Terry Corbett. My husband and I are longtime residents here of New Smyrna Beach. I'm a business owner here in New Smyrna Beach, and I want to thank you for the opportunity. I'm putting my name in the hat to be considered for service on the Planning and Zoning Board. And I know there's a vacancy that has recently been opened up. So I'm here to tell you just a little bit about myself. For more than 35 years, my career has involved managing complex operations, both internationally and in the United States. I collaborate with regulatory agencies and navigating permitting and compliance processes while balancing operational needs with environmental stewardship. So I was very heavily involved in design and engineering of very large-scale projects all around the world. And these projects, I worked directly with architects, engineers, and the government agencies to ensure compliance standards were always met. Locally, I work in, I'm a property manager and also a real estate agent. And this gives me daily insight to how zoning affects floodplain requirements, land use decisions, and neighborhoods in general. My family has been rooted in New Smyrna for over 40 years. My husband and I bought our business here in 2013. We are a beachfront vacation rental property, so we're very tuned into the short-term vacation rental property needs and also the beach resilient needs that you need to be directly on the beach. Following the hurricanes of Ian and Nicole, I was heavily involved with trying to work with all of the individual property owners. We were unfortunate enough, just like many other businesses, to be directly hit by the hurricanes. And had we not taken emergency actions, and this meant getting all of the permits through federal, state, government, county and city to be able to put our emergency armoring up, we would have lost our business. In addition, I worked with all of my neighbors to get emergency permits for over 11 properties. Being the agent, pro bono, of course, didn't charge anybody a dime for doing this, and also put everybody through the grant program so that they got up to 100% of their money back. And these were all of my neighbors on Hill Street. New Smyrna Beach is very special, and it's because it's maintained its character over all of these years. I've been coming here for many years as an adult and now living here as a resident. I believe that we'll continue to grow in this region. I believe in growth. I think growth it has to be thoughtful and planned out, and that's why I want to be a part of that. I believe that it has to, in line with the coastal environment, respect the neighborhoods, the residents, as well as the business owners. And so that I feel like I can respond to each one of those entities and keep everyone on the same page. And so
Thank you,
with that,
ma'am.
I would just like to wrap up and say thank you very much for allowing this time to speak with all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate your comments.
Good evening. My name is Bobby Lambert, and I just wanted to come and introduce myself to the City Commission. I'm the new general manager at Sugar Mill Country Club. And in my past stations, I really believe that a good relationship with your city, allowing them to know that we are here to support you all if there's anything that the city needs or something that we can do, because it's a pretty large piece of property out there, and you know, you have sewers to maintain and other things that run through the golf course, that I just wanted to be here as a person that can help out when needed. And I look forward to a long life here in New Smyrna Beach. My wife and I just moved in October, and We have already fallen in love with this community, so I just wanted to put it out there that I'm available in the event that the city needs anything.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank
Thank
you and
you.
your wife
Y'all
for
have a
coming
wonderful
in
night.
tonight. Thank you so much for coming in tonight. Anyone else for public? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I just want to introduce myself to everyone who might not know me. Some of us we've known for many, many years. My name is Roy Bishop. I'm the owner of Bishop's Record Service, 1111 West Canal Street, New Smyrna. Actually housing Gerber Collision there as well now. I'm the second generation business in New Smyrna. We've been doing towing service provider for over 50 years. My dad started the body shop and record service in 1971. I wanted to offer our services to the city and to the chief for the upcoming spring break, summer vacations, and special events. If the city chief would like a truck station at certain spots to help traffic flow, all my guys are available for you. I wanted to extend that courtesy to you guys as well. Also in the past, we have also provided vehicles for the police department for ballistics training, cars for the fire department for extrication training as well. And all those services, all those items are still available. If you need anything whatsoever, we're at your service. Thank you for your service and your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy, for coming up. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. That's all right, Ms. Harris. We'll wait. You take your time.
Good evening. My name is Patricia Blake Harris, address 524 North Myrtle Avenue here in the city. And I'm just reflecting back on the stormwater report February 27, report February the 27th, and the stormwater project, outline. And I'm looking at the citywide comprehensive master plan, phase 2. And I'm just wanting to know about Corbin Park. There are some initials here that I'm concerned with, and I just wanted you to maybe talk about that at the end of our meeting tonight. SJR WMD permit received. And it's for the Corbin Park project. It says the project will be managed by the county. Notice of commencement was issued to the Massey Construction Company, and the pre-construction meeting schedule will be March the 4th. So nothing has been taking place there as of today. Is that right? I just wanted to know, get an update on all the projects, and that's part of the phase 1, or the stormwater project for the city. And next is where my feelings are, the historic West Side. It says 100% plans complete. City received a state appropriation funding in August, and that was $1 million, and the city will submit for the next cycle of Transform 386 funding, which is expected to be in May of this year. I'd just like to have an update of what is happening with that, and that can be done next meeting time, but I'd just like to have some clarification. This is a beautiful outline, and I'm trying hard to be patient. Thank you so much.
You have been, Ms. Harris.
Thank you for your work now.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming up. Anyone else for public participation? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. Thank you all. So we're going to have a look at the consent agenda items. Are there any of these on here that have not been pulled that any commissioner would like to have a question about or comment on? Yes, ma'am.
I think we covered these today in the agenda briefing, but I noticed that Resolution 4-26 references tennis courts but not pickleball courts. So I would like to request that it be amended to include pickleball courts.
So we've pulled that item. We're going to talk about it in detail in just a minute. 7B, Bravo. 7B is when you're talking about.
Yes, it was the hours, you're right.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry,
we're
I
going to pull,
apologize.
that's all right. We're going to pull that one and talk about it
Okay.
for sure. Anybody else want to comment on? I got one. Mr. Manager, just a little bit on the 7E, if you don't mind. I understand that item came in on time or early and for sure under budget. Would you expand on that some for the public?
I will, and let me just open something here. That pertains to the Corbin Park stormwater project that we're doing. So the SJRWMD is the St. Johns River Watershed Management District, and we have to get permits from them before we can do any projects. And that project is about to get kicked off. The item on your agenda is a revised joint project agreement with Volusia County. And the reason we need to do a revised agreement is that the actual bid amount of the project came in under the bid estimate. And so the amount of the grant award and our subsequent match have changed. And the end result for the city of New Smyrna is that we'll be saving $322,000 on that project. So assuming you approve this tonight, you'll save some money that perhaps, hopefully, we can put toward the west side and other projects that we're looking at.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that update. We're going to pull item 7B. Are there any other items you'd like to pull from the consent agenda? Hearing none, can I have a motion, please, to adopt item Alpha Charlie Delta Echo Foxtrot Golf, please?
So
I'll make
moved.
that motion.
Motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perine,
Yes.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so it passes unanimously. Thank you all for that. Item 7B is a resolution 0426. Consider the adoption, which would amend and update the hours of operation for park and recreation facilities. Director Salazar is here, and we're anxious for your brief, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, thank you, Commission, for the opportunity to delve into this a little further. What you have in front of you this evening for your consideration for approval is an amendment to our Parks and Recreation facility hours. The previous ordinance was last amended in 2019. Currently, we are finishing construction on Phil Hall Park and installing LED lights at our skate park. With those two big projects ongoing, we felt it was appropriate to take a look at the Parks and Recreation facility hours across the board. I worked with Public Works Director David Ray and Police Chief Kirk to work through questions, concerns, thoughts to develop this plan you have in front of you. On the screen, I submitted to the city manager's office a comparison side-by-side of the proposed hours for each facility to the current hours. So with that, the city manager asked me to speak further in any specifics to this, and what I was trying to capture was the previous ordinance had, it seemed disjointed. There wasn't really a classification for, each different park kind of did its own thing. We tried to structure it a little more with the proposed resolution to have where the piers and the kayak launches and the boat ramps were designated as specific hours. The hard courts and the pickleball courts, the tennis courts were designated certain hours. The dog parks were designated certain hours, and so on and so forth through the listing. That was the concept we were working to achieve, to develop some consistency for not only just policy, but also enforcement when, PD goes out or CSAs are out there and patrolling the parks. There's a consistency, and they don't have to, this park closes at X time or this park closes at Y time. It's more uniform. So that was the thought process.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate that. You're ready for some questions, maybe, Rob?
Go for it.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Rob, I brought this up during the agenda briefing. I agree with the need for consistency whenever possible. You got a tough job with this.
Sure.
One of the examples is I was reached out to by the people who live on Sapphire.
Okay.
So you have Gracie Park, North Beach Park, and the parking lot on Sapphire, which is closest to the beach, has become a teenage hangout. Okay. I know that because I have 2 teenagers. And so I look on Life 360 and I can see where they're at. I tell them to get out of there. But what happens, so here's the complexity of it. We have some parks where there's fishing, people are going to be there all night.
Yes, sir.
We have pickleball and basketball at Detweiler at nighttime, used by both kids and adults, and that needs to be open to past dark. Then you have something like Sapphire Park where there's no recreation there. That park needs to close. There's no reason to be hanging out in a parking lot other than it's a dark spot for teenagers, except for one thing I pointed out was the county permits you to have fires. So the kids will go get a permit for a fire on the beach, which leads to a bunch of kids hanging out in a parking lot and parking there. So that creates a little bit of just a dynamic issue. How are we going to handle that? City manager then made a great point. You close the park, but there's going to be a launch of a rocket at night, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. You may want to go down to the beach and see it launch. So how do we balance having a place where teenagers hang out, make a lot of noise, disrupt the neighborhood? My point is, there's no perfect solution to this. I don't want to harm the people because of a few bad teenagers who decide they want to hang out and be loud in a quiet, dark parking lot next to a bunch of residential homes. So that was one of the issues, and I recognize the challenge. I'm not telling you, and that's all I'm doing tonight is recognizing, identifying the problem and recognizing the challenges that we can have at different spots in the city for different reasons. Thank you.
I don't even think you have to respond. Commissioner Martin.
Just curious, the Indian River Park, is that strictly ours by MDC, but it's our park?
We have an agreement with MDC where they close the park.
Okay.
During daylight savings, the park hours are extended from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., but when it's not daylight savings, it's 9 to 5.
Oh, okay, I just noticed it wasn't on the list, so I didn't know how we were handling.
It is on the list, yes.
How did I miss
It's,
it? There it is, I
right there.
apologize. Sorry.
No problem.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Rob.
Madam City Clerk, we get a motion here to adopt Resolution 0426.
Move to approve.
A motion
I'll second.
and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk,
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
you.
Unanimous.
If I could, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, where we plan to insert the pickleball statement into the resolution, I think that, was that the desire of the commission?
If I may, I referred to the hard courts in the text of the ordinance. Hard courts refers to tennis courts, pickleball courts, et cetera. So we can include pickleball, or we can say hard courts instead of tennis and pickleball. Either one is fine. No problem making an
Well,
amendment
and
to
then we
include.
also have hard courts for basketball too sometimes, yes?
Correct, yes.
So if, for me, if hard court, it covers
All
all of it,
encompassing.
I'm okay.
So we'll leave it as written. How about that? We have hard court and a definition, all three sports.
We'll take care of that.
Okay, we'll move on to administrative items in section 8. 8A is the consider approval of a letter of support for cost share of $11,000 for an Economic Development Administration grant submission for the Southeast Volusia County Space Overlay Area Infrastructure Group. It's an analysis plan with East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, Volusia County, City of Oak Hill, and the City of Edgewater. Director Bergeron, our Economic Development Director, is on hand. We're anxious to hear what you have to say, Sam.
Thank you kindly. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. This is a follow-up from our Economic Development Summit that we held in October, where we had the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council facilitated the meeting, and a lot of our meeting discussion was talking about the need to 4-lane Old Mission Road, as it is a very busy thoroughfare, and we also have a lot of homes that are being built along that area, as well as a job center that's being created down on Edgewater. And then for us, we have all of our schools there on 10th Street, and we have a lot of students that travel on Old Mission Road. We've gone through and looked at a lot of the county. It's a county road, but we're all partners in this together as we work very closely with the county and the other cities here in Southeast Volusia. And so East Central Florida Regional Planning Council has offered to write a grant. We've been in contact with Greg Viday, who is our Economic Development Administration office leader that's in the Atlanta office. And he seems very positive and feels that this grant could very easily be approved, very easily, that it's worthwhile. Not only would it include the 4-laning for safety of Old Mission Road, but the corresponding infrastructure required for stormwater retention and additional capacity as needed. As we know, this area flooded very badly during Ian. And so this project that we're proposing would take care of a lot of those issues. I think I've covered most everything in the background for your staff report, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. There is a corresponding in your packet. There's a scope of work as well as a draft letter that I got from the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council that all 3 cities in the county are providing for this grant that they are writing. So we would be submitting it by then. If it's approved, we would be submitting it. We are asking for a cost share. So for our share, it would be $11,000, which I do have available now in the economic development budget. But if we do not get the grant, then there's no money that would be spent. Is basically how that would work.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Any questions from my colleagues? Very well. Thank you so much for your report, Samantha. Is there a motion to approve a letter of support for the cost share of $11,000?
I move to approve.
A motion and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes,
Thank
you. Carries. There'll
Thank
be
you.
no quasi-judicial hearings tonight. The lawyer, the city attorney's off the hook. We've completed the public hearing for item 10A. Let's go on to item 10B, which is ordinance 0126, second reading, public hearing, which if adopted would approve the South Village New Smyrna Beach Community Development District, the CDD, for the South Village Residential Subdivision. Madam City Attorney, for the second time by title only, please, would you read ordinance 0126?
Ordinance number 0126, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach establishing the South Village New Smyrna Beach Community Development District pursuant to Chapter 190 Florida statutes, providing for authority and power of the district, providing for the Board of Supervisors of the district, providing for the district budget, providing for functions of the district, providing for miscellaneous provisions, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Our esteemed Development Service Director, Mr. Corbin, is in the batter's box. Shane, we're anxious for your report, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Shane Corbin, Development Services. Here tonight to talk about the proposed South Village Community Development District. Community Development District in Florida is a special purpose local district created under Florida statutes, Chapter 190, to finance, build, and maintain infrastructure and amenities within a planned community. Functions much like a miniature local government, able to issue bonds, levy assessments, manage community assets, specifically for the benefit of the residents who live within its boundaries. Typical responsibilities include roads and sidewalks, stormwater systems, water and sewer infrastructure, street lighting, landscaping and common areas, parks, recreation centers, and other amenities. These services are provided within the district only, and the costs are paid by the residents who benefit them, not the entire city. This structure allows developers to build large-scale communities without relying on city or county taxpayers, and they can also stretch that funding, actually the cost over a longer period than doing it all up front. It's governed by a board of supervisors, initially elected by landowners, usually the developer of the project. After 6 years, control begins shifting to a resident elected supervisors. Why do they exist? Florida created these in 1980 to ensure infrastructure is funded by the residents who actually use it, to provide consistent long-term maintenance of infrastructure, and to offer an alternative to municipal incorporation. So the area we're talking about, this being proposed for tonight, is in the South Village development out past 95 on 44. Some of the stats, just high level, it's about 1,300 acres, about 2,000 units, 74 acres of commercial, 20 acres of institutional area, 929 acres of open space, 816 preserved acres. A lot of people don't realize that when these projects go through as PUDs, a large portion of them are actually preserved and are used for open space. The stormwater area is approximately 113 acres, active recreation 51, community recreation and amenity 19, and parks and trails 32. The project is in 7 phases. Also includes a commercial component up towards the top you see there next to 44 in red and orange. So some local examples would be the Indigo Community Development District of Daytona Beach. It was established in 1995. It's one of the oldest and largest CDDs in the county. Covers the LPGA Golf community and surrounding neighborhoods. Also have the Pioneer Community Development District in Deltona. It's established in 2006. It's a planned mixed-use development, including single-family, multifamily, and commercial areas. And another example would be the Waypoint Community Development District in DeLand, established in 2022. It's one of the newest community development districts in Volusia County. And overall, there's about 1,000 of these statewide, so they're not a new concept. They're pretty widely used. So the proposed community development district is intended to provide a practical framework for funding and maintaining infrastructure needed to support this already approved development. The CDD structure allocates costs to the properties that benefit from the improvements and helps limit future financial impacts to the city. Based on this approach, staff identifies the following reasons to support approval. Provides a lawful mechanism under Chapter 190 Florida statutes to finance infrastructure concurrent with an approved development. Assigns infrastructure and long-term maintenance costs to benefiting properties rather than the city's general tax base. Establishes a dedicated and transparent funding source for operations and maintenance, and this transitions to a resident governance over time while remaining subject to Florida public accountability requirements such as Sunshine Law. So with that, staff recommends approval, and the applicant is here with probably a much more detailed. I just tried to give a high-level general overview of what these are and how they function. But I can take questions, or if you want to hear from the applicant first, they may be able to resolve some of your questions.
We'll ask you some maybe before we go on to Mr. Watt. Anybody?
Just a couple.
Yes, ma'am, go right ahead.
Okay. Does the CDD secede from the city because it's really its own city within a city, right?
It's not incorporated as a city, no. It's kind of like a beefed up HOA.
But it is still in the city
city.
limits.
Okay, I was just
and
curious
subject
whether-
to whatever rules and regulations we
And
have.
do we get any property tax from the CDD?
Well, it's a separate fee that's put on the property taxes.
No,
but
I
we
didn't
would
mean to
still,
them. I'm talking to the
We
city.
would get our property taxes, that does not change.
So they would get city property tax in addition to the bond payment, right?
That's correct. It's additional fee like an HOA fee.
Shane, how many we've got some already, right?
We have a few in Volusia County, but none in New
None
Smyrna
in the
Beach.
city?
This
is
would be
our
the first one.
Okay, very good. What's the downside? Why would we not?
So the only downsides that I could find in the research I did would be like during the Great Recession, and some of the developments had trouble fulfilling their build out. They got stalled, and they eventually had to be bought by a different developer. And once the economy improved, but that has not been described as something that's wrong with the structure of the CDD, more or less the individual development and the aggressive nature of, said developer along with a particular project. The other issue that I saw that some people have complained about is not being aware of the additional fee associated with it. But I've spoken with the applicant about that already, and there's some things in place to help make sure that there's disclosure, and anyone buying a property would know about that.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Commissioner Ashley.
To me, I've done some research on this. I had a long meeting with Mark, and a CDD is a real benefit when you're developing a community, in my opinion, because the project is bonded, and there's a lot less tendency to have developer drift. And I think that a CDD keeps everybody on track and on point. Plus, the fact that after 6 years, it either all at once or gradually gets turned over to the residents is, in my opinion, a big deal. In Venetian Bay, where I live, the turnover just happened, and I think it's been 20 years. It's been a big source of frustration out there. So this CDD, to me, is a tremendous benefit. I have seen some big real estate companies advertise no CDD as a marketing tool, when I think they should be doing just the opposite. Because living inside a community that has this kind of benefit, which means that much more secure living in terms of infrastructure and things getting done, is a fantastic benefit. And the kind of buyer that you're going to draw to that community is a wealthier buyer, and that's what we want. That's what I want in this community. So,
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Commissioner Perrine.
So reading social media, a lot of people thought we were here to approve a PUD tonight. Again, I just want to restate, this isn't a PUD that we're approving. This is nothing to do with that. And so that was on social media. And the second thing, the person or a couple people said that they thought the reason why we were going to approve something like this, which we've never approved anything like this in our time frame of me being up here, nor ever, I guess, since we don't have any, is that this would take the element of liability off the city. But explain that, why that wouldn't necessarily be a good thing versus a bad thing. And that came from Venetian Bay, a resident from there being skeptical about the bond being taken care of fully, so that they don't have another situation like happened in Venetian Bay.
Oh, I'm sorry, did you want me to explain something?
Explain why.
Well, in Venetian Bay, the HOA is actually in control of some of the infrastructure, and it's just a little bit different. I don't know exactly how to explain it. I guess with this, you have a separate board that's controlling the funding that's on top of any HOA that's established there. And that funding is directly for infrastructure and maintaining their systems. I don't know. I would ask you to talk to the applicant a little bit and explain that a little bit further.
I can help here. I do believe that sunshine laws apply to CDDs.
They do.
So that's a big deal. And having experienced an HOA that is developer controlled, a developer is a for-profit entity, and they can decide how much they want to spend on repairs, on maintenance.
You do understand that the CDD is also a for-profit enterprise. It's not a nonprofit.
The CDD is a different entity than an HOA in that it has transparency. The HOA does not have transparency.
Got 6 years of the developers controlling the board, and those
But
developers
there's
have
sunshine laws.
So let's go back to order, and I appreciate your input and your explanation and your attempt. We'll get Mr. Watt up here in a second, but I think Commissioner Martin may have had another question or two.
I could put it pretty simply. Of what benefit is it to the future homeowner? For example, what happens if the governing board defaults on bonds? What happens if the governing board decides to add another bond? There really is difficulty, and of course, if you look it up, there's an awful lot of lawsuits against CDDs in Florida. So I don't understand what it does for the future homeowner that isn't provided by the PUD and the city.
Yeah, let's have the applicant answer some of those questions rather than having the Development Services Director attempt to do that.
Okay, very good. Shane, your boss just gave you off the hook. Thank you very much for coming up and doing the work. We'd like to ask the city as many questions as we can for the impartiality. We know that Mr. Watt is a good man, but he's representing the applicant, so that's why we ask separately.
All right. Here we go.
And now, without further ado, from the Cobb Cole Law Firm, Senior Partner Mark Watts, representing the applicant. Good evening, Mark. Glad to have you with us.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. For the record, Mark Watts with the law firm of Cobb Cole, 231 North Woodland Boulevard, DeLand. And I appreciate the opportunity to be with you this evening. I've actually got an entire row of support here as well, and actually a lot of folks here to answer some of the good questions that you're asking if we need to get into that. So just real quick introduction, I've got Malia Smith-Ferguso with Pulte Homes, George Flint with Government Management Services. His firm will serve, one of the things I'll go through in just a minute with the presentation is that we have a professional management staff that's involved with any community development district that's formed. And George's company is probably the gold standard in the state for management. Ryan Dugan with QTAC Rock. Speaking of gold standards, QTAC Rock represents the vast majority of CDDs throughout the state of Florida. They would serve as district counsel for the district that we're proposing here. And then Randy Hudak, who's local gold standard, I'll give him that, for engineering. One of the other staff positions that you have with any community development district is a district engineer, whose job it is to review and report on the condition of infrastructure and things of that nature on an annual basis. So the formatting looks like it got a little tweaked on this, so hopefully it all comes across real quick, or comes across as intended. If it doesn't, I'll ad-lib it. But I've got a few things that I want to present to you here. And I've got Ryan and George and Randy and Malia to answer any questions, and I'll pull them up as appropriate. But so a little bit of background. Shane covered this, I think, very well in his initial presentation to you. But there's over 1,000 CDDs that have been established in the state of Florida since the Chapter 190 went into effect back in 1982. One of and this kind of goes to some of the questions that you were asking, what are the benefits? So there's an interesting, I think, bit of trivia that, out of the top 50 planned master communities in the country, 17 are in Florida, and of those 13 are managed by CDDs. And we'll get into a little bit more where I think those benefits come in as we move through this. So got a little bit off the page here, but so what is a CDD? And Commissioner Martin, your question, about does it secede from the city, or is it, something that exists within? I think this goes specifically to that point. So a community development district is a form of local government. It's an independent special district that exists within the city, and the vast majority are created by cities or counties. Those are by statute. The city or county has the authority to create them. All of them are governed by Chapter 190. So Chapter 190 effectively operates as a charter for the things that you can and cannot do with a community development district. So it's statutorily governed by the things that are outlined under Chapter 190. All of the regulatory authority remains with the city. So zoning, permitting, approval of development orders, things of that nature, is all maintained with the city. Police powers, things of that nature, all are with the city. This is really just an entity primarily focused on implementing and long-term ownership and maintenance of key elements of the infrastructure necessary for development of property. So as I said, typically established by the city or the county. There's some instances where if they're really big, they get established by the state. But the vast majority are established at the local level. And if they were ever to terminate or anything of that nature, it would come back through and the city would be involved in that process. You would have to vote to terminate it as well. So it's I think the characterization was made kind of like a very robust form of an HOA, but it has a lot of different benefits to it, which I'll get into as we move through this. One of the key points under statute, transition occurs when the district has existed for 6 years and has 250 qualified electors that live within its boundary. At that point in time, you have a 5-member board. You get the initial couple of seats that transition over to resident election. Then in the next 2-year election cycle, the remaining seats transition over to local election. So for a good example, Shane mentioned the Indigo CDD, which is for the LPGA project up in development up in Daytona. I think that's probably been resident-controlled elected board for 20 or 25 years or more. So. And again, as I mentioned, professional staff, district management, district council, and district engineer. So the key purpose of a community development district is providing public infrastructure. Essentially, any elements of public infrastructure, whether they're on the site or whether they're improvements to, for example, the road network that are necessary to serve the development, can be financed and are eligible to be financed by a CDD with the municipal bond mechanism. So one of the key factors of being able to access municipal bond market, interest rates are lower. You are able to finance at much lower cost, and then that additional project cost can be rolled into upgrades to things like landscaping, upgrades to amenities that are provided within the development. To the question of the security, and Commissioner Martin, I think you'd asked about what happens if there's a default. The CDD's debt is secured by the special assessments that are levied on the property. So debt assessments are levied on individual parcels. That parcel is responsible for paying its assessment. So it's a parcel by parcel issue, landowner by landowner issue. So in the event that a landowner fails to pay their assessment, it's not everybody in the district that's responsible for it. It's the parcel owner that has not, paid that assessment. So it's specific to the benefited parcel. You had a question?
Yeah, because it's sort of, the governing board pays the bills, right?
Correct.
Okay, what if they don't pay on the bond? We know we collect the money with the property tax.
Yep.
But let's say it's much more fun to go to Acapulco than to put a payment to the bank.
I've got a couple slides here that'll talk about that specifically.
Okay.
So there is a lot of security built into the process, and I'll get into that as we're walking through kind of that assessment process. So as I mentioned, the parcels themselves, as you have a district that moves forward and you begin having homes and everything else, each of those property owners will have an extra assessment that's on their property tax bill. That is the debt repayment and is the operation and maintenance cost on an annual basis for the district. And only that non-paying property owner, if there is a default or if that person doesn't pay their tax, they are the only one that's at risk in that instance. So benefits and protection from the city's perspective, it is a much more stable maintenance entity than an HOA. It allows the infrastructure for the development that you've planned within the city to be constructed with a robust, public entity. It's not part of the city's financial burden. It doesn't show up on your financial statements. It's, as you see there, the quote from Chapter 190.016, default on the bonds or obligations of the district do not constitute a debt or obligation of the local general purpose government or the state. It's all contained within the district. Bond proceeds, and this gets to the point of security. So bond proceeds are not, if you go out and issue bonds for a project or a subphase of a project, it's not a check that gets, handed over to the developer. They're required to establish a trust indenture. So essentially those funds go to a trust company, and then to requisition dollars out of that, you have to have district staff and district engineer sign off on the costs that are being requested for reimbursement for the release of those dollars back to the for the construction costs and things of that nature. So all of that is not only kind of handled by a third party that's under a trust indenture, but is also subject to the same annual auditing requirements that you are with the state of Florida. And so all of that has to be audited and provided to the state on an annual basis.
I'm just noting that the state states that the city is not responsible, and the government, surrounding government is not responsible for defaulting on a bond, but it doesn't say any of the homeowners within. If the entire CDD defaults, however they do it, but they default, do the homeowners or property owners in the CDD now carry the responsibility for paying off that bond?
So again, going back to the question of payment, that non-payment is only on the, if there's a non-payment issue on any particular property, it's only the owner of that parcel so there isn't a bond default in that instance.
It's really not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So let us, we're going to go back to order, and we're going to let him finish his brief, and then we're going to ask him questions, just like our convention has us doing regularly. Okay. Go ahead and proceed.
Very good. So as I've mentioned, long-term maintenance entity, I'll show you some examples in a minute, but things like the Water Management District kind of look at this as a more favorable approach for long-term maintenance. There's increased accountability. The members of the board, members of the staff are subject to the Sunshine Law. All records are public records under Chapter 119. There's other disclosure requirements, which I'll detail in a minute, so that people have transparency when you're choosing to purchase property, for example, within a CDD. Earlier turnover, a lot of times when you've got an HOA, you wait till 90% of the property has been sold, or until the last lot owned by the developer is sold before the HOA turns over. The statute governs here. When you get to the point where you're 6 years and 250 registered voters, it transitions, and that's controlled by state law. Enhanced level of service, again, this is, I think, an area where both from the transparency, the public accountability standpoint, and also the requirements for things like the annual inspections of your stormwater system and things of that nature, those are all things that I think a CDD brings as an additional benefit. If there are things like disasters, CDDs are eligible to participate in FEMA funding, things of that nature, mutual aid agreements with the state and other local jurisdictions. It does operate as a small special purpose government. So it has the ability to do interlocal agreements with the city, for example, to kind of address the delivery of services or any other things that may come up over the existence of it. And again, no financial burden to the residents outside of the CDD boundaries. Transparency, I think, is one of the keys. This is just a quick list of where you see information about the CDD. So it's required by state law to be disclosed in the sales contract. So before you choose to buy property in there, it's disclosed that you're buying property that is subject to a CDD. There's mandatory requirement that every district have and maintain a public website that includes all of its agendas and other materials and backup documentation about the district and its formation. Subject to the Sunshine Laws and public records. All meetings and public hearings have to be advertised. Just like there's a budget process that requires the same types of public hearings for the development of not only the capital budget, but also the operation and maintenance budget on an annual basis. Minutes are kept, just like the city. Mailed notices for all assessments. Public procurement laws govern, so we have to comply with the same regulations that the city does with regard to procurement. And there are multiple points in the public record where there's notice provided as well. Notice of establishment once the district is formed, notice of public finance once, if and when bonds are issued, and then a notice of those assessments that are adopted for the property have to be recorded in the public records. And then, as I mentioned, the annual audit requirements. I mentioned this before, but this is actually a letter that one of Mr. Dugan's partners received a few years ago from the Water Management District, and it kind of got cut off down there at the bottom. But you'll note that one of the things that the Water Management District says in here is that all things being equal, a CDD is a preferred operation and maintenance entity over, to an association because of all the things that I've just outlined to you. So just to give you a quick overview of South Village and kind of where it is. Staff kind of talked about the overall project and its history. What we're proposing within the CDD boundaries is the single-family residential portion of the South Village project. It's about 770 acres with a little bit of rounding. 1,277 homes. That's actually significantly lower than the maximum number that was originally approved there. We've evolved the plan over time. But approximately $69 million worth of public improvements that will go into the area within the district as it moves forward with development. Just to run through the status, you can see there the PUD for the property was approved back in 2011. The updated plan was approved and went through in 2024. Preliminary plat has been approved in November of 2024. And we're working through the final engineering of that now. I think we're hopefully down to our last round or two of comments. Water Management District permits have been approved, again, back in 2024. Overall, conceptual permits for the entire site were approved in October of 2025. Wetland impact permits have been approved since October of 2025. And we're in the process with the FEMA map revisions that are necessary whenever you're moving forward with this type of development. So just to give you kind of a quick summary, and I promise I'm almost done. I think I'm down to 2 slides left. One of the elements that you see that we're required to file a petition with the city that outlines what are the things and what are the costs that are proposed to be financed by a CDD. So you see here kind of that preliminary breakdown that's in the petition that was submitted to the city. And then you see where it's funded, who will maintain it, and then who will ultimately own that. So you've got on-site roadways, off-site roadway improvements, on-site trail network, stormwater management system. You can see that's one of the really large line items within the overall budget. Those are all things that would be funded by the CDD and maintained and owned in perpetuity by the CDD as well. On-site potable water, reclaimed sewer and wastewater, and off-site utilities. All of those would be New Smyrna Beach utilities that would own and maintain them long-term, but again, funded by the CDD to extend those utilities to the property and to the project. You've got landscaping, hardscaping, irrigation, things of that nature, and then your costs with permitting and design and those other types of things that are included in that total number. I will say you typically do not see a district go out and fund $69 million worth of improvements at one time. As you saw in staff's presentation, there's approximately 7 phases, so you typically will see it come through phase by phase and take that into much smaller bites and much smaller bond issues. The statute sets out the establishment criteria, so these are the things that we are asked to evaluate in looking at the proposal before you. Whether all statements contained within the petition have been found to be true and correct, whether the establishment of the district is inconsistent with any applicable element, portion of the state comprehensive plan, or the effective local government comprehensive plan, whether the land area or whether the area of land within the proposed district is sufficient size, sufficiently compact, and is sufficiently contiguous to be developable as one functional interrelated community, whether the district is the best alternative available for delivering community development services and facilities to the area that will be served by the district, whether the community development services and facilities of the district will be incompatible with the capacity of the and uses of existing local and regional community development services and facilities, and then finally whether the area that will be served by the district is amenable to separate special district governance. So with that, I'm going to stop. I'm going to pause for any other questions you might have, and I'll ask Ryan to come join me because Ryan and his firm are really like I said, they are top-notch in connection with working with CDDs throughout the state of Florida. So
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Welcome, Mr. Dugan. Commissioner McGurk.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Watts, appreciate the presentation. I think CDDs are very new to the city of New Smyrna.
Yes.
I think we've reviewed one before this one. It's easy to understand HOAs. I think everybody's got that.
Right.
And people refer to this as an HOA on steroids. I think what confuses people, certainly did me initially, is why are we so involved? Why is the commission having to approve it? Why is the city seem so involved in this process?
Mm-hmm.
And I understand it is the way that this is designed and made up. But I want to make it very clear. The city is not liable. The city doesn't have exposure, nor are the city residents and taxpayers who do not live specifically in one of these homes that may have any of these homes in the CDD, or any of these homes that may have participated in some sort of bond. Is that correct?
All of those things are correct.
Okay.
So the reason that the city is involved at this point in time is because by statute, you are empowered with the authority to create it.
Right.
Similar example, you have the authority to create things like stormwater assessment districts within the boundary of the city. And oftentimes what you do is you'll create that for that limited purpose. And then you have to have the meetings, you have to continue to, Orange City did this a few years ago where they had a road network that was built by a private developer. It was owned and managed by an HOA. The HOA went away 20 years ago. Nobody had maintained the roads. They had to go through the process of creating a special assessment district, and that city board sits as the board that manages that district. Here, once you vote on the petition, you've got that separate elected board that does that, but the city has no further involvement.
Right. Thank you for that clarification. I tend to, I agree with Brian, his assessment. I think that the CDDs are a step up. I think that they are a good thing, not a bad thing. But to make clear, the city, our tax-paying residents do not have any kind of exposure or a legal requirement. They're not, our city taxpayers are not going to be stuck holding the bill if a particular development doesn't work out or folds up, or the CDD doesn't spend its money correctly. That is contained to the specific CDD, the people who bought the home, and the people who agreed to be part of that development. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Commissioner Martin.
Still haven't got the answer on the default, first of all, because
Okay.
I'm not talking about individual properties.
Sure.
Individual doesn't pay his or her bills, yes. But if the board doesn't pay on the bond, say, for the infrastructure, and defaults on that bond, whether they didn't get around to it or not, whatever the reasoning is, because it has happened.
Yes.
And so, the danger to the residents, my focus is on what's the benefit to the residents
Absolutely.
or the property owners. So
So let me ask Brian to come up and maybe give you a different answer than I've provided before to see if we can answer it correctly.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Thanks for having me today. And Commissioner Martin, it's a good question. And I think when you are thinking about the overall project in the CDD, at the point in time where, say, there's bonds are issued by the district and you have a default by the developer when they are the landowner in the district, at that point in time, the landowner or the developer owns all of the land, or the vast majority of it. You might have some residents in the community, maybe in an initial phase, but with the primary risk at that point, you're not going to have a lot of residents in the community at the point in time where a developer is, say, the project stalls and they're not able to build the community. You're not going to have people living in there unless the roads are built and the utilities are in the ground. So I think the timing of it, of that rare scenario where you have a developer defaulting on a bond and residents being left there with a half-built community, is minimized by the timing of how it actually would play out, and also in response to the Great Recession. Municipal bond market it has shied away from bonds that are issued over the entire project and before anything is built out. That's just not what would happen in the scenario. Typically, what would happen is the first phase would be developed and built, and then you're going to have bonds issued on that phase. So the risk of a default on the bonds that are issued is limited to phase one. You probably have residents in the community who are living there, and they're having a fully built section of the community where they can live. And the last point I would make is another response to the Great Recession is a lot of additional commitments from the development team were required before bonds would be issued, where they would have to turn over their development rights related to the project to the CDD in the event of a default, so that the CDD could recover in the event there was a default on the bonds and the bond debt wasn't paid. They're going to be able to recover better because of the statutory framework and the trust indenture protections that are built into the project.
I would assume that you issue a bond before the first phase is built, isn't that correct? Or do you pay up front for the first phase?
No, there's a couple ways it could be carried out. Sometimes you can have the district actually issue bonds and then go into a construction contract where the district is building the infrastructure. Another way, and what is typical with this development team, where we've worked on a lot of projects together, is they're going to build it first, and then bonds are going to be issued. Mm-hmm. And then the only way they're going to get bond funds is if the attorney and an engineer are signing a certificate and putting their certificate and their signature on a document to say that, okay, these bond funds or the project was built and we're going to use the bond funds for the particular project for what it was intended for. So there's protections in place, and we're putting our license on the line when we're signing the certificates. So it's not like this is done in the darkness and without anyone looking at it.
I'd like to note that Venetian Bay was built without a CDD, and somehow they have sewers and electricity and water and all of that stuff without putting an in perpetuity bill in addition to the property tax bill, and also obviously with the HOA fees. The other question I have is the cost of government, because now with the property tax they're paying for the city government, but with the bond payment and all of that administration and that board, they are functionally right down to the sunshine laws and FOIA and all that. So they're essentially paying for a second layer of government. So they're being charged twice.
No, yeah, that's a good point. And the CDD is not a duplication of general purpose government services. The CDD has a limited purpose for dealing with public services that are specific to that community. So like kind of Mark went through the example of a stormwater assessment district, if the city had to go through that, those responsibilities would come to you, but you're creating a district and those responsibilities are shifted to the district. It's not something that you're also doing. So public meetings are set up where people have complaints about, their community. They're not coming to you anymore. They're coming to us.
As I said, I can see the benefit to the developer. I can see the benefit to the city. What I cannot figure out is the benefit to the homeowner.
Yeah.
And they're now paying for a separate government in addition to the city government.
Yeah.
Other developments have all the infrastructure in without putting that burden on the future homeowner.
Yeah.
And this is, so you see what I'm seeing, but the other, and this is just a question, the elections when they occur, do they correspond with the city elections?
So, yeah, essentially, yeah. So once you're
because
going...
if I understand, you go through the county, right? And they're on the regular ballot.
Yeah, you're on the ballot. When you turn over to resident elections, you're on the ballot on the same category below for special district governments. And even before that, when you're on a landowner election, they're kind of teed up eventually with a November date. So yes, there is a staggered turnover, and the elections happen at the same time. I just want to circle back really quick. I'm glad you brought up Venetian Bay and kind of the benefit to residents. It's a good example of when you're looking at your establishment criteria. I want to focus on the word alternative. Okay, so you're being asked, is this the best alternative for managing the public services that are being provided by, the district and for this community. So, there have been issues, with Venetian Bay, as I understand, with management of your stormwater facility. So creating the district, having either an HOA do it or a CDD do it, you could just look right across the street north of the project, and you can see an example of what happens or what can happen when a private entity is responsible for managing the stormwater improvements. So the CDD is more capable of funding those improvements, and they're also more capable of managing and maintaining them. And that's not just something that Mark or I are saying. Even water management districts are, as Mark showed, are supportive of that point.
Still not getting it for the resident.
Okay. Any other questions, ma'am? Okay. Commissioner Ashley.
Just to put it in different words, does the developer and/or the builder invest first and get the project moving with the CDD's help, and then after a certain time, the bond is issued, and the developer/builder is repaid by the bond, and then that's okay?
Yeah. Generally, that's the approach. And as Ryan mentioned, after we went through the recession and you had some CDD defaults and things of that nature, the bond market actually tightened with regard to those requirements. Right. And so, number one, you'll never see a district go out and fund, if a project is $10 million worth of that $70 million, you won't see a district go out and pay, issue a bond for all 10 million. Typically it's, 5 or 6 of that and the rest of it, or maybe it's 3 or 4. I think I closed a bond issue on a Polk County district recently for a phase of a residential community, and I think the bond was $3.5 million on $14 million worth of overall cost for that section.
So what happens next? So after that, what happens? So in that instance, the 3 million versus the 14, what happens to the 11?
So just the $3.5 million is the portion that is the assessment moving forward. So in that example, while all of the infrastructure cost for that particular phase may have been 14 million, right, the only portion being included in an assessment is about 3.5 million. So again, it's not 100% of that cost. It tends to be a lot smaller slices.
Okay. And how is the assessment on each parcel determined? Do you take the whole thing and then cut it up by the number of parts and that's it?
Yeah, that's essentially it. When you talk about a phasing bond issuance situation, the area where the projects go, or whoever benefits from the project, those would be assessed, either debt assessments for that property. And the district management team puts together a methodology report which shows exactly how those assessments are going to be allocated or apportioned to the property. There's, a ton of case law on the requirements for special assessments that they have to be fairly and reasonably allocated to the properties that benefit from it.
Is there a limit to changes? Do they ever change over time?
The debt assessments, essentially are set from bond issuance, and they're set for 30 years. So the amount and how you're allocating them are typically set that way. If there are rare circumstances where a debt assessment would be changed, but those are rare, and there would have to be a public hearing and notice mailed and published to the particular people that are affected, and it would have to be discussed at a public meeting, and subject to sunshine and public records requests.
Any other questions? Very good. Commissioner Perrine.
Yes, thank you. When you guys were here last time, my biggest concern was fees, and I was able to see that you have disclosures for that. So we can't dictate when a homeowner decides that they're going to buy a property. That's due diligence, and that's on them, on what they're going to pay in fees, because they're going to have that with NHOA too. They have 5 days, 3 days rescission to change their mind on that. Once they get all of your board docs and everything, that's on them, not us. So I tried to find negatives on this because it was new. And the one person that said, well, I don't like them, this is, they had them in Texas and it didn't work. I asked them to send me documentation, send each one of us facts on why they didn't like this. Because if they don't pay, We don't want to take over that, and we don't take over HOAs when they don't pay. We're just a pass-through. So we don't do government overreach here, wanting to take over when HOAs don't do their work. To me, why penalize our 32,000 taxpayers because of one subdivision isn't doing something? This puts it in the hands of you guys. We have been up here saying we like private partnerships and also instead of government control. So I can't see any no wins on this. I haven't had one negative come to me on it. And like you said, if it's fees, that's on the homeowner. They got to pay those fees, not us. It has nothing to do with taxpayers. And our 32,000 people shouldn't want to have to jump in and bail some developer out. So I don't see any negatives.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. It occurs to me we've got a professional up here. The manager has, both in your time in Florida and in Alabama. Have you got a view on this, sir?
Yes, sir, I do. And also have a couple of questions, if you'll indulge me, just to help with my understanding. So in a let's say a traditional subdivision, a developer decides to build a subdivision. They purchase the land, they put in their own money, and they go to a bank and borrow money to fund the infrastructure to put in. Then they get approval. Then they start selling the lots to builders. The builders build houses and they sell them to the homeowner. Then the developer takes the money that he's received for the sale of the properties and retires the debt. So that's generally how that process would work. So when I, as a homeowner in that situation, I'm buying a lot, I'm buying a house, the cost of the infrastructure is built in to the cost of the lot that I'm buying. So now, if I was just buying a raw piece of property, it would cost me $50,000. Now I'm buying a lot in a subdivision that's got roads, sewer, water, electricity, everything already in it. And now the cost of that lot is $150,000. So when I buy the house, I'm buying the infrastructure at that point in time. So with a CDD, what I'm hearing you say is that the developer, in this case, goes to the bond market, they get a bond, and they use those funds to pay for the infrastructure, but that bond debt is retired over a 20 or 30-year time period by the person who purchased the property. So in essence, that infrastructure is now being paid for by an assessment over a 20 or 30 time period. So my question is this: as a purchaser, could I expect that the cost of that property would be lower when I buy it because I'm paying for it over time as opposed to upfront? That's a long question, but...
Yeah. No, I'm following your question, and I think there's 2 points that I'd like to make on that. One, yes, it will be less expensive because you just outlined 2 different borrowing costs. So there's financing costs either way. Going to a bank and getting a loan, you're going to be paying a much higher interest rate, so it's going to cost more. So the developer might bake in that cost. That lot might cost, more if he's got a higher interest rate, but using the municipal bond, you have a lower interest rate, so the cost that is spread out over time is lower. I'm not a finance expert, but I know there's also, you're spreading out the cost over time. There's a time value of money, so you're going to have savings there. And as far as what you might see sometimes is in the sale price of the home could be impacted by when you're in a CDD. It could be lower because you do have that assessment cost. That is more of a marketing and pricing decision that the development team would put together. I know that's part of the information that we submitted to the city. There was a financial review that we put together where the city requested additional information on that. And looking at the per square foot costs of the surrounding market and what they were envisioning for this project, I know that they were showing a lower per square cost of the homes in this community, at least in what they're seeing when compared to the market. So there's, there's a couple different ways that it's, there could be cost savings. It's very fact specific and exactly of, what interest rate you're getting compared to the private side, and a lot of factors that go into it. But I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, and let me maybe add in the non-financing portion of it as well, because I think a lot of times what you see with the district, I think back to the kind of first slide that we started on, that 17 of the 17 top master plan communities in Florida, 13 are managed by CDDs. South Village, under the zoning approval that's in place, has a requirement to do a lot more things like pocket parks, trail system, amenity centers, community buildings. And so I think you also see with the district financing mechanism, the mechanism to help finance those elevated amenities and things of that nature. So some of that cost savings that you get from the overall financing also helps to increase the amenity and the attractiveness of the overall neighborhood, which is why you expect that if you're choosing to live within that district and pay that assessment, there's a benefit to you as a resident of those additional amenities and that additional kind of level of fit and finish in the community.
Okay, understood. So my second question, and this is a little bit more technical, but if I am doing a traditional subdivision and going through the subdivision planning process, at the conclusion, whatever infrastructure I have not put in the ground, then I have to submit a performance bond to assure that that infrastructure would be completed in the, event of some sort of catastrophic economic downturn. So, and back in my earlier years doing this kind of stuff, I went through a time period where there were a lot of bond defaults like that because of the economic downturn, and that process certainly did work. The city was able to cash those performance bonds and complete those improvements to make sure everybody was whole. So my question is, how in the CDD process and the planning process, how do we assure that that infrastructure that is approved is put in the ground? Is there a performance bond or something similar that
There is. So if you think about it from the standpoint of, I mentioned in the beginning that the regulatory authority and the permitting authority and everything else remains with the city. The CDD doesn't change that in any way. So your codes require those performance bonds and those maintenance bonds. And so all of that has to be there still. Now, in addition with a CDD, you have a couple of other securities. Ryan mentioned that there's a collateral assignment. So in the event there was a bond default, that the district gets control of all the permits and everything else and can continue to complete that infrastructure. So you've got your typical city performance bonds and maintenance bonds for any development activity that would be in place. In addition, you've got additional security measures with the district's ability to take over a project and manage it to completion. And then you also have a few other agreements that go into place in a typical bond issue where you have your acquisition agreement where you're agreeing to acquire those completed infrastructure components, but you also have an enforceable completion agreement where anything that hasn't been completed remains the responsibility of the developer. So either you've got an agreement that requires the developer to complete it, or you've got the ability to perform self-help as a district and complete the infrastructure yourself because you control those permits.
Good. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, just to answer your question, I have had experience with these districts in Alabama. They're quite popular in Alabama, particularly for commercial development. They're also used for residential. I worked extensively through a process in Alabama with one of the first CDDs that was done in Auburn, Alabama, and it was hard work getting through it, but in the end, it was a successful development, and I would say that the experience that I personally had with it was good, and the product that resulted was quite good as well.
Thank you very much. And so, just your personal opinion, not for voting, you're a supporter of.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with this. I think you've heard from these gentlemen how this works, and ultimately the benefits to the city and to the homeowners in terms of the amenities that they can expect and the infrastructure that they can expect. And there's no loss to the city. We will get our property tax revenue, assuming other people don't take that away from us.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Just a couple,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Watt. Other than the deferral of infrastructure costs, the lowering of risk, and the lower interest rates, would you one more time go through and enumerate what the other benefits to the end purchaser of the home?
So as I look at it, and I started doing, I think the first CDD that I established was in 2008 in Palm Bay, down in Brevard County. And we're actually closing on bonds on that district tomorrow for some additional infrastructure. But it's really the transparency and the robust nature of the entity that's there to provide that long-term management and maintenance of your infrastructure. In all of the districts, as I've been going through this underwriting process for the district in Brevard County that we're issuing bonds on, I have a report every year of the stormwater system that I can look back and I can go out and show the bond market, here's not only what was originally constructed, but here's, the job that's been done maintaining it. And it just really is a much higher level of accountability and transparency with regard to that process. I've lived in an HOA, and my experience there, I missed a meeting and I ended up being elected president by Mike Abels, the former city manager in DeLand. But my experience there was nobody could ever give me a copy of the original stormwater permit. Nobody could ever tell me, is that actually a pond that I can go look at a plat because I know how to do that, but the vast majority of folks that aren't in this on a regular basis and in this professionally don't know where to go look on the plats to figure out, okay, here's all the tracks that we own. Here's all the things that are our responsibility. Here, those things are transferred to a district, and you've got a professional management team and professional counsel that handles that for you. To me, that long-term accountability and transparency is the key. And I'll go one further. When we did the development of One Daytona across from the Speedway in Daytona, we had funding coming in from the city and the county. I structured those agreements. My focus was to make it transparent. And so I created a CDD over that property, and Glenn Ritchie served as our chair, and now I can't remember my current chair. I'm drawing a blank. But I think the point is I wanted all of it to be transparent. And so the fact that you're in the sunshine and you've got everything that's public record was a key to me. And again, there I know my stormwater ponds, Bobby Ball from Zev Cohen is going out and doing an inspection every year and giving me a report for my board. So I think those are the really key things over the long term.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. One last. So why isn't this being done ubiquitously? Why not everywhere?
It varies by jurisdiction. And I'll just give you the anecdote from DeLand. I grew up over there, and the city manager years ago, Wayne Sanborn, didn't want to have, different districts within the city. So when Arvida came in and proposed to build Victoria Park, they came in and asked to establish a CDD for it, and the city said no. Bob Apgar was the only one that voted for it. He was a general counsel at Consolidated Tomoka at the time, and they liked CDDs. They created the Indigo District. About 5 years ago, we started having that conversation with DeLand again about what these entities can do and how they can be used to improve the overall quality of the community, improve the transparency of it, and improve the product that you get as your community continues to grow. We have 4 that have been created in DeLand since then. We created that first one, and the focus was we want better quality. We wanted better quality developments, more accountability in the management. And so most of what you've seen be built recently on the east side of DeLand, Lakewood Park has a community development district. The Trinity Gardens project has a community development district, and I think they're functioning very well. I think the city's been pleased with them.
By and large, does this add a premium to the initial cost of the home? And is that maybe one of the reasons that others don't do it?
I think there's a premium to the view of the community. And I do think you opt in to be part of it and to take on that additional cost, but you're opting into, again, I think you go back to that master plan statistic. You're buying into a community where you have some assurances that you're going to have some of those higher, fit and finish and higher expectations for the long-term management.
Very good. Any follow-ups? Commissioner Martin.
You've referred to bonds plural, and my understanding is that as time goes on, there can be various other bonds. And functionally, a big chunk of change is required with your property tax every year for the entire time you live there. So my question is, and these can increase exponentially. Mm-hmm. So my question is, does anybody have any statistics on how many homes could not make those additional dollars?
I don't know that I have any statistics readily available. I can say that bond process is a public process, so each and every time, if there are more than one bond series ever proposed within a district, each one goes through that hearing process, and you have to meet those same tests of what's the benefit, how's it being allocated, things of that nature. So I'm not sure I answered your question.
If you're the one homeowner that can no longer afford the increased assessments, you're just out of luck, right?
Well, I think it operates very similar to an HOA or a condo association that may have a special assessment to do concrete restoration work, or may have something like that.
So you can have a special assessment in an HOA as well as a special assessment in a CDD.
Yeah, each has that authority, but we, in a district, you have to go through that public hearing process. So I think it's a better overall process.
But you can have them going on simultaneously because there are HOAs within CDDs, yes?
In theory.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt. But an HOA and a CDD are not going to do an assessment for the same purpose, though, because for now you're taking that, whatever they're funding, and you're shifting it over to the CDD. So you wouldn't have them issuing an assessment on the same thing. And I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. They're just two different things. I have an HOA, and we're doing this assessment to repaint all the houses. That's different from a CID bond that provides another assessment for cleaning the stormwater.
Yeah, that's exactly right. If the community needs to, fund its improvements, the CDD has that ability to issue bonds if you had a project large enough where you needed to spread out that cost over the residents, collect it on the tax roll, which makes it a lot more of a stable revenue source for the CDD to be able to fund their improvements. An HOA assessment to paint their houses, it's not on the tax roll. The collection ability to get that is a lot less secure and stable than a CDD.
Understood. I'm just thinking of the poor homeowner who's saying, oh my God, this week the HOA wants an assessment, next week the CDD wants an assessment. Yep. And, this incremental.
Yeah.
And one you face monthly, one you faced annually, yeah. Right?
Yeah, but I think in all instances, it's the cost of living in a community, right? I mean, whether, if you're in another neighborhood and you have an issue with your stormwater system, and let's say you're in a townhome and you've got an assessment to redo your roof, and your stormwater pond also fails because there's been a storm event, they're probably going to come here and ask the city for help in that instance, versus in this instance, you've got a district that would be responsible for taking care of that.
Okay, I think that's dictated in the documents for the development, who pays what for, say, stormwater maintenance, and my understanding is that the development or HOA is responsible for maintaining their own stormwater system.
Correct. But
so
I think
if in fact the stormwater system failed, they wouldn't come to the city.
No,
right?
But I think, an HOA, it doesn't have the robust, funding mechanisms that a district does. So I think you have a much more accountable and responsible entity there to handle a situation like that. You may end up with multiple assessments, but I think it's to pay the cost of the services that are provided to your properties.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
We see multiple assessments all the time in HOAs now, condos, you name it. We're not in the business up here to ask these kind of questions to you, or what kind of fees and stuff. I think that's just not our job.
Any
Can't
other
see any
questions or
negatives.
comments? Okay, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you
We're
for
going to
your
listen
time.
to the public, you bet. Public hearing is now open. If there are any citizens who have a view and like to express it, please approach the podium and you'll be heard. Seeing none, public participation is now closed. Sir, come ahead.
Joe Dluback, 3321 East Laconda. I come to this presence with Venetian Bay in my mind, and just wanted to note a couple of things, including the ones that you have presented. There was a transparency slide which talked about, there was one slide that talked about all of the different products that were being provided by the CDC. I will remind you that 90% of the items that were on that side that constituted over $60 million for a place like Venetian Bay were paid for by the developer. We are here talking about transferring those funds over to the residents there. Secondly, they did show a slide of transparency. Everything except the very first one dealt with post-purchase. Meeting minutes were open, meetings were open. The first one was a thing called contracts. That's the only time that the purchaser of a home will get to see, per state statute, see a statement that says that this is a CDC community. It's required on page 37 of any contract. It's just above the signing version. And after 37 pages of looking through a document, who looks at what every single element within there? So they sign off, and all of a sudden they just find out that because of their ignorance, I'm from the north, so I'm one of those ignorant people, and maybe some of you are too. There is nothing in advertising that talks about this being a CDC. There's no billboards, there's no handouts, there's no brochures, nothing that describes that this is a CDC, and you get to be charged what normally goes to the developer. My bottom line is there's so much uncertainty between the people sitting behind me and all of you behind that this trying to make a decision is too premature. I would recommend that you host a workshop amongst yourself with us participating, because I've got pages of issues dealing with CDCs that I haven't even talked about yet, but are important ones, and you need to hear those. And I've got a yellow light. Oh, by the way, keep in mind that one of the bigger issues within South Village may not even be on the table, and that's the one that disturbs us all, and that's stormwater management. So thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anyone else for public participation? Seeing none, public participation is now closed. Any follow-up by the applicant or the city? Very good. Any discussion amongst my colleagues? Very good. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 0126?
So moved.
A motion?
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Madam City Clerk, call the roll.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Still can't see what it does for the homeowner, so no.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. The motion carries. Appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Okay. Let's go on to item 10C, which is ordinance 2226. Conduct a second reading and public hearing for this ordinance, which, if adopted, would authorize the Utility Commission of New Smyrna Beach to enter into an agreement longer than 4 years with the revenue to organization to provide biosolid waste disposal services. Public hearing will be held tonight, and it's item 2226. Madam City Attorney, for the second time, please.
Ordinance number 2226, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach approving a 3-month extension of an agreement between the Utilities Commission, City of New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and Revenue, Inc. for the disposal of biosolids, which will extend the agreement term beyond 4 years, providing for conflicting ordinances, severability, and an effective date.
Is there any context that we should be aware of, Madam City Attorney?
In the city charter, when the Utilities Commission is going to enter into a contract that lasts longer than 4 years, they're required to get an ordinance from the City Commission approving that. This contract was intended to be under 4 years, but there was some delay. We do have a UC representative here to speak on specifics, but that it's they're going to be 3 months over 4 years. So it's kind of a technical.
Thank you for the clarity. Appreciate that. And now we'll hear a report from Dana Hale, a professional engineer from a water resources. She's also the Water Resources Director of the Utilities Commission. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you coming.
Hi. Dana Hale, New Smyrna Beach Utilities Director of Water Resources. As what Carrie said, this is really just a technical formality. We are currently in construction of a screw press, which will process our waste on site, and then we will just have a hauling contractor, whereas right now we have a contractor that processes on site and hauls. With the unforeseen construction delays, we just need an extension for 3 more months, April, May, and June.
Okay, thank you very much, Dana. Any questions for Ms. Hale? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
Public hearing is now open. Any citizens who wish to speak on this topic, please come forward and you'll be heard. Seeing none, public participation is now concluded. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 2226?
So moved.
A motion and a second. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Who was the second? Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes, thank you. It's been adopted unanimously. And now some first readings. Ordinance 2326, conduct a first reading of an ordinance which, if adopted upon the second reading and public hearing, would allow a portico to be located in the city and provide a definition for portico. It is in ZT 11-25. Madam City Attorney, would you read 2326 for the first time by title only, please?
Ordinance number 2326, an ordinance of the City of New Smyrna Beach amending the land development regulations. Amending Article 2 definitions, Section 201 general definitions to add a definition for porticoches. Amending Article 7 supplementary regulations to add Section 80404 to provide for regulations related to porticoches. Providing for codification, providing for a public hearing, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Let's move on to boards and commissions. Madam City Clerk, we've got a couple of boards tonight. I'm ready for your report.
Yes. So our first board appointment will be for the Economic Development Advisory Board. This advisory board committee is appointed by the City Commission to provide recommendations to the City Commission and the City Manager, consisting of members from diverse industries and areas of the city. The EDAB focuses on improving business environment, enhancing productivity, supporting economic growth, and its purpose is to offer expertise, experience, and resources to recommend on expanding and diversifying the commercial land and industrial sectors, as well as contributing input on commercial redevelopment and revitalization areas. Before you today, we have 5 applicants who have submitted their applicants and have been reviewed by our Economic Development Director for your appointment consideration. I will also like to point out that Mr. Aaron Denny's sits on our Code Compliance Board, and he is able to sit on one decision-making board only, and that would be the Code Compliance Board, and EDAB is an advisory-only board, so that way he can serve on both boards. And we also have Sam, our Economic Development Director, here if you have any questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Also note that Joshua Champion has a business here at the Advent Hospital, although he's not a resident, and this allows him also to qualify as non-resident but have a business here in New Smyrna. Any questions of the clerk? Any questions of Director Bergeron?
Just one.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure that the woman, was it Jessica Wilbur, is highly qualified, economically great. Everything's wonderful, but she lives in Colorado, and she has really no connection with New Smyrna Beach. And I would be more comfortable with somebody who has had a little bit more time to study us and see what's appropriate for us.
I think there's a question of concern in there somewhere. Would you like to address that? I think you've recruited each of these folks.
I did, yes.
Okay.
So Ms. Wilbur is owns the company Tact Manufacturing Solutions that we have recruited. She's originally from Melbourne, Florida. She comes here very often, several times a month. She's in the process of building her building on South Street. I sent Mr. Cowper and Mr. Nybert some drawings and conceptual drawings that she's working on. She's also been connected with Space Florida for the financial tool that they offer for purchasing all of her equipment. So she's in the process of moving here, but she is here very often. One of the reasons why I was so intent on recruiting and asking her to submit an application is because her business directly provides machined tooling and metal fabrication for companies that are located at the Space Center. Specifically, she has contracts with Blue Origin, SpaceX, Lockheed Martin, and Northrop Grumman, and also some defense contractors. So with our keeping in mind the Bryce Report, our Economic Development Comprehensive Strategy, as well as our Southeast Volusia Economic Development Strategy Plan, she is a key expert in that field, and I felt could help us be able to provide some guidance and information of how do we attract more businesses like her that pay strong average wages and fulfill a big goal that we have is diversifying our tax base. So in the membership bylaws, we would allow for a couple of the positions on that board to not exactly fill the criteria of exactly having a business here or exactly living here, as she is in the process of moving here now.
Thank you for the explanation.
Yes.
Given that, how would you? What's the will of the commission? Would you like to take these separately or as a slate?
Or nominations, or?
We can nominate the slate, or we can nominate individually. What's your pleasure?
The slate.
One for the slate. Any objections to the slate? Okay, very good. So I have a nomination from Commissioner Ashley for Mr. Denny's, Ms. Donegelli, Ms. Wilbur, Mr. Champion, and Mr. Sullivan. And so that is the slate. Would you like written ballots or roll call?
I'll call a roll.
We'll call a roll. All
Yes.
right. Anybody want to talk about any of those? I mean, Commissioner Martin brought up a good one. Yes, sir.
Are there 5 to be appointed?
Yes.
Okay, that was.
5 for 5.
I thought there was 3.
5 for 5.
Okay, thank
That's what makes it easy. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to thank Samantha for getting this going again. I'm super excited, and I too was hesitant about her not being a resident yet because I think we have criteria for that. But we also need fresh blood that has that experience that we've never had. Being on Economic Development Board for 4 years, it is hard to get the space work here if you don't have someone that has that background and experience. So I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, ma'am. I speak in favor of all of these. I know each of these nominations, many of them, all of them, I believe, have businesses here in New Smyrna. And I think the regeneration of what you're doing in economic development, Director Bergeron, is commendable and necessary. So I speak strongly in favor of all. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denny's, Ms. Dongley, Ms. Wilbur, Mr. Champion, and Mr. Sullivan. The city clerk's office will be in touch to fill out the appropriate paperwork. We salute you and thank you for your willingness to step up and serve your city. Thank you very much. Okay, and now we've got another one to go. I think this is code compliance.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So this code compliance appointment was advertised for 2 consecutive commission meetings. The state statute establishes this board, and this board enforces local law, building codes, zoning regulations, and other ordinance concerning the standards. So as of now, we have 3 openings on this board. Dan Coffer, who has served 3 terms and is seeking reappointment. Albert Shemansky, who has served 2 terms and is seeking reappointment. And Clifford Warren has served 3 terms, but he is asked to be stepped down from this board. So as of now, the term length for this board are 3 years, but there are no term limits. So that's up to commission consideration. We do have 1 applicant who has submitted an application, and that is Mr. Nathan Joseph, who I've emailed you all the applicants in the roster. So we're here today to consider reappointment for Dan Coffer and Albert Shemansky, and we have 1 vacancy to fill for Mr. Clifford Warren.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Historian McGurk, which groups have a 10-year term of 3 terms and which do not? And do you have any logic behind why we do one and not all the same?
So we've bounced around all over the place with that. I think that, and you're saying that we do not have term limits on
Correct,
this?
there are no term limits.
So my understanding at one point was we put term limits on all the boards. With the caveat understood that a lot of times we don't have people to fill board spots. So it's not that we couldn't appoint. And so that's changed back and forth. But I think the issue is, it's really a personal one. Whether or not you think someone has done really well and should be reappointed after 2 or 3 terms, or if you want new blood, or just the ability for people to get on. So it's really a personal decision if we don't have a policy on that.
No, I will say that there's also member for qualifications. So whenever possible, we ask that the resident is an architect, a businessman, an engineer, a general contractor, and a subcontractor. And Mr. Coffer and Shemansky do fulfill those requirements set by state statute.
You say all of them, or you have a few that you need special requirements?
Right now, they all fulfill that. So Mr. Shemansky is a subcontractor, and Mr. Coffer, who's been the chair, is also a subcontractor.
Got it. How about the new applicant?
The new applicant does not fulfill the qualifications. So whenever possible, we ask that they fulfill that, but the new applicant does not.
Got it.
So I think that is a good indication of at least where you would go. There's two qualified people.
So how would you like, all right, we have 3 vacancies and 3 nominees. Would you like to do these individually or as a slate?
Slate.
Sir?
Slate.
Individual.
Individually. Anybody else?
I'd go with slate.
I'm individual.
So we need Jason.
Mr. McGurk is individual. We'll do them individually.
Okay.
Is there a nomination for Mr. Szymanski?
I'll nominate
Second.
Mr. Shemansky.
Okay, great. Is there a
And then-
nomination for Mr. Coffer?
I'll do that.
Is there a nomination for Mr. Joseph?
I'll
I
do
will.
that.
Okay. Let us vote then separately,
Yes.
as we've been nominated. Do you need
So Mr.
private ballot, or
Szymanski.
can we do roll call?
Roll call for Mr. Shemansky.
Okay, roll call, please, for Mr. Szymanski.
Commissioner Martin?
For Mr. Shemansky,
Mr.
yes.
Shemansky, yes. Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
Okay.
How about a roll call for Mr.
Coffer.
Coffer?
Correct. Vice Mayor McGurk?
Yes.
Commissioner Perrine?
Yes.
Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley?
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland?
Yes.
And
And lastly, roll call for Mr. Joseph.
yes. Vice Mayor McGurk?
No.
Commissioner Perrine,
No.
Commissioner Martin,
Yes.
Commissioner Ashley,
Yes.
Mayor Cleveland.
No. Okay, so 2 of the 3 carried. We still have 1
Yes.
vacancy. And just as a qualification, certainly respect and admire all 3 for stepping forward. Mr. Szymanski and Mr. Copper, congratulations on your reappointment. The city clerk will be in touch. Mr. Joseph, if you're listening, appreciate your 2 years of residency in New Smyrna. Appreciate your interest. I've called your references, and it was only to be able to reach one of them. Your interest in serving, while interesting, to expand your comfort zone is admirable. I'm looking for some performance and some qualifications to go onto this board. So with apologies, sir, thank you for stepping forward.
So the clerk's office will continue to advertise for co-compliance for the position that we have open. And I just want to also announce that we have an opening on the Historic Preservation Board, and we will advertise that for 2 consecutive meetings. And also on a Planning and Zoning Board, we have a vacancy on our Planning and Zoning Board as well. So
And we'll
I
do this-
encourage any resident to apply on our city website.
And we'll advertise that for how long?
For 2 consecutive meetings, yes.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you very much. On to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Martin.
Just a couple of things. One, could we explore either mandating or actively soliciting annexation by those county properties within city borders that make us all crazy? Can we take any proactive work? May I make a motion to suggest that we have some proactive approach to annexation?
Well, the proactive approach we've taken is not charging them the thousands of dollars it takes to annex in. Mandating people to come in from the county is going to be highly contentious. And when I say that is, the only time that we had to be concerned about our physical safety in a meeting was when county folks, we proposed the program that we accept, that we've been doing, which is purely voluntary. Come in, we're going to waive all the fees. And we almost got into blows. So I would, unless I'm not willing to mandate people to be annexed into the city. That's not something I want to go down.
So my error, I should have gotten sought a second before we had discussion. Is there a second for that motion? We don't normally have pop-up motions during commissioners' discussion. Is there a second? It dies. What else have you got?
Okay, well, I would like for it to be on the agenda next time. The other one is, let's see. The Volusia Forever, as we know, is being challenged. And can we do a letter or a resolution supporting those organizations that are joining together for conservation and perpetuity?
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Commissioner Perrine.
I just want to thank Chief Kirk and Director Steve on the traffic and fast reaction with a situation that we had a resident in my zone, and he immediately the next day went out and looked at the crosswalk and looked at the issues. And you know, we have a lot of traffic in this city, and when our pedestrians and citizens respond with something, I just want to say how nice it was to how fast you went out there and assess the situation, and also our police to always put our citizens first, and it means a lot. So many thank yous for that. I'm looking forward to see those improvements already.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate that. Commissioner Ashley.
I wanted to talk a little bit more about South Village. We had a long discussion. I think we came a long way in helping the public understand what a CDD is. I know that the research that I did, the conversations that I had benefited me tremendously. One of the things that I did find out is that tonight we were talking about the residential part of South Village only. The commercial part is owned by someone else and represented by someone else. I think that it would behoove us to, if we can, somehow pursue who owns that property and ask them what their plans are and encourage commercial development at the same time this residential development is going on, if possible. Because I think being out there, we do need more amenities. We need, you know, a city-like atmosphere out there. We have, you know, a couple of restaurants and the golf course, and that's it. So I think that pursuing that commercial part of South Village would be worth it.
Are we unanimous on that request? Is there anybody opposes that? Mr. Manager, would you check into that, please, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure. Okay, Vice Mayor.
Nothing today.
Good golly, how rare. Mr. Manager, would you, for the benefit of those on the west side, talk for a second? If you can pull it up in your memory, great. If not, maybe we get Engineer Fagley. Is there anything that you recall about for phase 2 for the water management system, the master plan that is going to occur over on the west side? And if so, anything in 2026 or 27?
You're referring to the historic west side?
Yes, sir.
So we have a stormwater project that has been designed. It is not yet funded. I think it's about a $6 million project. We do have funds that you, Mayor, went to Tallahassee last year and secured those grant funds. So that money is available for the project. The historic west side is a CDBG eligible area, and we have approved for funding. We have applied for funding from the county. We did not get it in the previous round. We were encouraged to reapply for that project in the upcoming round, which I believe is in May. And we're on top of that, and we will do that. And we're doing everything we can to get that project funded. Now, we do have other funds that we can make available for the project through the stormwater utility fee. We're hoping that between the state funds and the utility funds that we would have available, that would be enable us to make a 25-30% match toward county funding that could be made available.
That'd be great. And it's like a $6 million project.
Yeah, it's don't hold me to that exact number, but I think we're in that ballpark.
And the lift station, is that on us or on utilities?
A sewer lift station?
Lift station, yes, sir.
That would be on the utilities, yeah.
On
Utility.
Utilities Commission. Okay, very good. Okay, I appreciate that update. Yes, thank you, sir. Spring break is upon us, and I know with all the unrest around the country and certainly around the world, we all have great fears. I'm bolstered by the Deputy Chief's comments tonight and what I've heard from Chief Kirk. So if you're a resident out there and you see something, please say something. And we will all go through spring break with eyes open wide and businesses open for business. It's important to our business districts, and we're looking forward to a very prosperous and enjoyable spring break for all that would come. With that said, Madam City Clerk.
Nothing else for the evening.
Madam City Attorney.
Yes, so you have the written report under the City Attorney's section as of March 3rd, 2026. I have an update as of yesterday. This Friday is the end of the regular session. There's probably about 7 or 8 bills that the league is tracking hard because there's meetings this week and they're waiting to see what went by. There's 5 of them I wanted to mention today. Sovereign immunity is, they took that up today. And it looks like they've come to agreement on increasing the limits from $200,000 per person, $300,000 per incident, to $350,000 per person, $500,000 per incident. The caps remain, if you recall, a previous version from the House was $600,000 per person, $1.2 million per incident, but there really was no cap because you didn't have to go get a claims bill if you wanted to settle beyond that. So fortunately, the version that was passed does not have that open
Absence of
lid
cap,
to
yeah.
it. Correct. The other one I wanted to mention, House Bill 655, Burt Harris. This one looks like it's passed or passing. If you recall, in order to do shade sessions, you have to have active litigation. So if there's a dispute and they're telling you, throwing you the notices and all of those things, that's not enough to allow you to meet in the shade to determine if you want to try to settle that early before it turns into litigation. So that bill allows the commission now to meet in the shade if we get some sort of Burt Harris notice. So that's an improvement in terms of legal strategy. The third one I wanted to mention is Live Local. Live Local last year they made it an administrative process, so the public hearings were removed, and this is the one where they can get increased density, height, those types of things. This one has been amended to allow, it's really about affordable housing and trying to open up space for these multi-family developments and mixed-use developments. So previously they were allowed in commercial, industrial, mixed-use districts. They've expanded that on property owned by a school, city, county, or a church that's at least 3 acres in size and has been used as a church for the last 5 years. This bill also has the ADU units attached to it, and I have some notes on that. The proposal was to allow ADU units on any single-family residential. They tweaked the language a bit. They now will allow us to regulate short-term zoning less than 30 days if per this bill. Also, it says that if there's a homestead exemption on the property, it will not apply to any leased unit in the back. The last one I wanted to mention, I have 2 more. 1566 is financial transparency. This one, you post the budget materials sooner. You keep them on for 5 years. There's some reporting that has to occur regarding salaries, public employee salaries, and you're required to do a public workshop during the budget session where you do an exercise in reducing the budget by 10%. You're not required to implement the change, but you have to go through the process. The last one I was going to mention is House Bill 1085. Previously, essentially what this does is it takes a existing program and codifies it into law, and it's about cybersecurity. Our city did take advantage of this program. We're able to use their licensing and software for free for training and that type of thing. This will put it into law, so that program is being adopted. The thing they're talking about a lot is they're very far apart in the budget, so we will have a special session. I guess normally the House and the Senate can agree on at least the big top numbers. They can't even agree on that. Apparently there's some hurt feelings left over from the last budget session that's causing tension between the House and the Senate. Last year there were over 2,600 bills filed. This year it's only over 1,200, so it's been a very off year. So they'll take up the budget for sure. We anticipate property tax may be taken up as well, and then I've also heard redistricting. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Thank you for that. And just a couple of questions. What is the protocol? They're over this Friday or next Friday? This Friday?
This Friday.
Is there a provision for extension?
So they can call a special session, and so when they adjourn, It's whether they adjourn with, and I heard the pronunciation, I've seen the word, but I haven't really pronounced it, sine die? Sine die?
Yeah.
Sine die. And then that deals with if they end, and I'm not clear, so I'm not going to quote right now, either with sine die or without it, all of these policy bills would die. So they'd be done taking up anything that hasn't passed through both houses as of Friday.
Two more. The bill that was in the House that was going to further restrict water quality and water quantity, did that die in one? I'm sorry for not have the number in front of me. Did that die in either of the House or the Senate?
I'm trying to pull it up. It's probably in my report there. That one I hadn't discussed because it was more of like a utilities commission. And while I'm looking that up, another one that the league is watching is the requirement for utilities to extend beyond their jurisdictional boundaries, which will be difficult for small utilities. Okay.
Is that one also the amount would be restricted that they could pass to the cities? Is that the same bill?
Oh, yeah, it would definitely affect, because we get a share of their budget.
Right. So
And
is that
so, right now, they can charge an extra 25% when they have to extend beyond the municipal boundaries. That goes away, the 25% extra charge. So it would have a financial impact.
And has that passed both houses?
It's past one, it's going
Got it.
back and forth, so don't know where that's going to end up.
Gotcha. One last one. The antidote to Senate Bill 180 unanimously passed in the Senate, but has not passed in the House and is in committee now. What do we think about that?
Correct. There seems to be an indication that that may not be fixed. It's kind of just sitting there in the House. So Friday we'll know for sure, but it doesn't look good for that.
Okay. Any of my
And I'll
colleagues?
get back to you on the water quality one. I'll send
Thank
you an email.
Appreciate that. Any of my colleagues, questions? Thank you, ma'am, for the report. Mr. Manager?
Nothing else, sir.
Thank you so much. We're adjourned at Jeepers, 8 o'clock almost, 7:52.